The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as the message finished playing. 200 representatives from across the galaxy stared at the holographic display in disbelief. The message had been simple and direct. The Krithax Empire challenged humanity to open combat. 3 months from today, winner takes all. Ambassador Ji-hoon Kim sat in the human delegation seat, his face calm and unreadable. Around him, the chamber erupted into chaos. Delegates shouted over each other in dozens of languages. The translation systems struggled to keep up with the panic. "This is madness," shrieked Ambassador Valena, her insectoid body clicking with agitation. "The Krithax don't understand what they've done. Someone must stop this," buzzed High Speaker Tornath, his tentacles writhing. "The challenge must be withdrawn immediately." At the center platform, War Chieftain Drax Thor of the Krithax Empire stood tall and proud. His scales gleamed red under the chamber lights. He looked confused by the reaction. His people had conquered 47 star systems. They were the greatest warriors in known space. Why was everyone so upset about challenging these weak humans? "The challenge stands," Drax Thor announced, his voice booming through the chamber. "The humans have traded in our territory without proper respect. They act as equals when they are clearly inferior." Council Director Mornseth called for order, his robotic voice cutting through the noise. The chamber slowly quieted. All eyes turned to the human ambassador. Ji-hoon Kim stood slowly. He adjusted his simple gray suit and walked to the speaking platform. His movements were precise and controlled. Other ambassadors leaned away as he passed, as if afraid to get too close. "Ambassador Kim," Director Mornseth said carefully, "you have heard the challenge. The Council will support any reasonable response. We can negotiate terms. We can offer mediation. We accept," Ji-hoon said simply. The chamber exploded again. Delegates shouted in protest. Some began making desperate calls to their homeworlds. Valena rushed toward the human ambassador. "You can't!" she cried. "You don't understand. The Krithax have destroyed fleets 10 times larger than yours." Ji-hoon looked at her with dark, calm eyes. "Your people will be slaughtered," Tornath pleaded. "Please, reconsider." Drax Thor laughed, a harsh barking sound. "Finally, someone with courage, though it is courage born of ignorance. What are your terms, human?" "Standard conflict protocols," Ji-hoon replied. 3 months preparation time. Neutral battleground. Observer platforms for the Council. Winner receives formal surrender and all associated rights. "Agreed," Drax Thor roared triumphantly. "In 3 months, humanity will kneel before the Krithax Empire." Director Mornseth tried one last time. "Ambassador Kim, I must officially ask if you wish to reconsider. This decision will cost many human lives." Ji-hoon's expression didn't change. "Director, my people have faced extinction many times in our history. We're still here. The challenge is accepted. We will see you at the appointed place and time." He turned and walked out of the chamber. The human delegation followed him in perfect silence. The massive doors closed behind them with a heavy thud. The chamber remained in chaos for another hour. Delegates argued and pleaded. Several tried to contact Earth directly, but received only polite messages that all inquiries should go through Ambassador Kim. Finally, Valena called for a classified security meeting. 30 senior council members gathered in a shielded conference room. The Krithax were not invited. "They're going to die," Tornath said miserably. "All of them. And it's our fault for allowing this challenge to proceed." "We had no choice," Mornseth replied. "The challenge was issued under ancient treaty law. Once accepted, it cannot be withdrawn without dishonor to both sides." "Then we must tell the Krithax the truth," someone suggested. "Warn them what humanity really is." "We sealed those files for a reason," Valena said quietly. The galaxy isn't ready to know what walks among us, wearing peaceful faces. Onprot. The Krethaks certainly aren't ready, Mornseth agreed. An older delegate named Kresh spoke up, his voice heavy with memory. I was on the evaluation committee 30 years ago. When humanity first applied for council membership, I saw their files, their history, their world. He paused, his scales paling. I voted to reject their application. I was outvoted by those who believed any species capable of reaching the stars deserved a chance at peace. And they've been model members, Tornath protested. Peaceful traders, respectful diplomats. They've caused no problems. Because we asked them not to, Velena said. Because they chose to be peaceful. Not because they couldn't be anything else. What do you mean? A younger delegate asked. Kresh pulled up a classified file on the central display. This is Earth. Humanity's homeworld. Classification. Death world. Category 9. Gasps filled the room. Death worlds were rare. Category 9 was nearly impossible. Most council species came from Category 2, or 3 worlds at most. Their gravity is 40% higher than standard, Kresh continued. Their atmosphere is corrosive to most species. Their planet is covered in predators that evolved alongside them, and humanity reached the top of the food chain, not through size or natural weapons, but through refusing to quit. The display showed images of Earth's history. Endless wars. Weapons of increasing horror. Nations that built enough nuclear weapons to destroy their own planets several times over. They fought each other for 10,000 years, Velena added. When they finally unified, it wasn't because they learned to love each other. It was because they got bored fighting the same enemies and wanted to see what else was out there. Their military vessels, Mornseth said, bringing up another file. The ones they retired when they joined the council? We let them keep those ships for trading. We thought we were being generous. What about them? Tornath asked. They're not retired, Velena said flatly. Every human merchant ship can become a fully armed warship within 48 hours. We've been tracking them. They run constant drills. Their civilian pilots train more than our military ones. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The Krethaks have never fought anyone who didn't surrender when outmatched, Kresh said finally. They don't understand what's coming for them. The Krethaks have never fought. Should we warn them? Someone asked. They wouldn't believe us, Mornseth replied. They'll have to learn the hard way. Outside the shielded room, in his private quarters, Ji-Hoon Kim sat at his desk. He opened a secure channel to Earth. Admiral Sarah Chen's face appeared on the screen. It's done, Ji-Hoon said. They accepted our acceptance. Sarah smiled, but it wasn't a friendly expression. How long until they realize what they've done? 3 months, Ji-Hoon replied. Maybe less. The council is terrified. Trick date. Good, Sarah said. Fear keeps people honest. Assemble your fleet, Colonel Park. It's time to remind the galaxy why humanity chose peace. The transmission ended. Ji-Hoon looked out his window at the stars. Somewhere, out there, the Krethaks were celebrating their coming victory. They had no idea what they had awakened. Security Director Velena's private office was deep in the council station's protected core. The walls were lined with classified data storage units. Each one contained secrets that could start wars or end civilizations. Right now, she was accessing the most dangerous file of all. The folder was labeled simply, Humanity? 5 senior council members sat around her desk. They had the highest security clearances in the galaxy. They were the only ones outside the evaluation committee who had ever seen this file. Now they needed to review it again. Before we begin, Mornseth said heavily, I want everyone to remember why this information is classified. The galaxy has enjoyed unprecedented peace for 300 years. Much of that peace exists because most species believe everyone else is roughly equal in capability. Humanity destroys that balance, Kresh added. If other species knew the truth, it would cause panic. Or worse, an arms race. Velena opened the file. The first page made everyone uncomfortable, even though they'd all seen it before. The report began with Earth's physical statistics. The planet orbited a yellow star in a region most species considered too dangerous for habitation. Solar radiation was high. The planet's magnetic field fluctuated. Asteroid impacts were common in the system's early history. Earth's gravity is 1.4 times standard, Velena read aloud. Most council species would require mechanical assistance to even stand on the surface. Humans evolved in this environment. Their bone density is 30% higher than similar species. Their muscle structure is designed for constant resistance. She pulled up images of human anatomy. They heal remarkably fast. A broken bone that would sideline most species for months takes them 6 to 8 weeks. They can survive blood loss that would kill others. Their pain tolerance is... She paused, searching for the right word. Disturbing. Show them the persistence hunting data, Kresh said quietly. Velena switched files. Humans evolved as pursuit predators. They would identify prey and simply chase it. Not for minutes or hours. For days. They would track an animal until it collapsed from exhaustion, then kill it with simple tools. Their prey died from being too tired to run, Tornith whispered in horror. That's terrifying, Velena finished. Yes. And it gets worse. This hunting strategy required complex cooperation, communication, and planning. Humans developed large brains not to build technology, but to coordinate hunts better. The next section of the report covered human history. Velena scrolled through it slowly, letting the numbers speak for themselves. Documented wars. Over 15,000. Duration of warfare. Continuous for recorded history. Largest single conflict casualties. 85 million deaths in 6 years. Total deaths from human versus human violence. Estimated at over 1 billion. They've been killing each other since they climbed down from the trees, Mornith said. Every generation. Every culture. Every continent. But look at this part, Velena said, highlighting a section. Despite constant warfare, they kept advancing. They built cities while burning other cities. They created art and music between battles. They developed philosophy about peace while perfecting the art of war. She pulled up human military history files. They invented something called total war. The concept that entire populations, not just soldiers, are part of the war effort. They mobilized their entire species for conflicts. Images flashed across the screen. Ancient battles with thousands of soldiers. Medieval sieges lasting years. Industrial wars with millions of casualties. Nuclear weapons that could end civilizations. This is the mutually assured destruction doctrine, Velena said, stopping on a particularly chilling file. During their Cold War period, 2 human nations built enough nuclear weapons to destroy all life on Earth multiple times over. Their strategy was simple. If you attack us, we'll make sure nobody survives. They were willing to destroy their own planet rather than surrender, Kresh said. Let that sink in. They chose potential extinction over defeat. A younger council member named Tresh spoke up nervously. But they gave up those weapons. They unified peacefully. They applied to join us as friends. They gave up the weapons because they invented something worse, Velena said. Look at their current defensive satellites. They call them asteroid defense platforms. We approved them because protecting planets from space debris is reasonable. She pulled up technical specifications. Each platform can redirect a 5-kilometer asteroid with precision accuracy. They have 200 of these platforms. Do you understand what that means? The room was silent. It means they can drop rocks on planets from orbit. Mornith said flatly. They turned asteroid defense into a weapon system that bypasses every treaty we have about weapons in space. And we approved it, Velena added. Because they presented it as peaceful infrastructure. Which it is. Unless they choose otherwise. She switched to another file. Their culture is equally concerning. Human entertainment is filled with war. Their most popular stories are about soldiers, battles, and conflict. They have something called military science fiction, where they imagine fighting aliens. They fantasize about fighting us? Tornath asked weakly. For fun, Velena confirmed. Their children play games where they pretend to be warriors. Their sports are stylized combat. They have martial arts practiced by millions of people who will never see actual battle. They train to fight as a hobby. Kresh pulled up the next section. This is the part that worries me most. Human military doctrine. They've been studying every council species since they joined. Files appeared showing detailed analyses of Krithak's tactics, Chithrak's defensive strategies, Keltorian fleet formations. Every major military power in the council had been quietly dissected and analyzed by human strategists. They know how we all fight, Kresh said. They've run simulations, developed counter-strategies, all while smiling and trading peacefully with us. That's not aggression, Tresh protested. That's just prudent planning. Exactly, Velena agreed. They're not plotting to attack us. They're just making sure they know how to win, if they ever need to. That's how they think. Constant preparation for conflict they hope never comes. Mornith stood and walked to the window, overlooking the council chamber. When the evaluation committee interviewed the first human diplomats, they asked why humanity wanted to join the council. Do you know what the humans said? The room waited. They said they were tired of fighting each other. They wanted to try something different. They wanted to see if peaceful cooperation was possible on a galactic scale. Mornith turned back to face the group. We thought they were naive, hopeful primitives who didn't understand how the galaxy works. But they did understand, Velena said. Better than us. They knew exactly how the galaxy works, because they've been living in their own version of it for thousands of years. Multiple nations, different cultures, competing interests. Earth was a miniature galactic council, with higher stakes, and they finally achieved peace, Tresh said hopefully. No. Kresh corrected. They achieved victory. Every major nation either joined their world government voluntarily or was incorporated after demonstrating they couldn't compete. Humanity unified because everyone agreed that working together was better than the alternative. But make no mistake, the alternative was always on the table. Velena closed the main file and opened a video recording. This is from the evaluation committee's final interview with Ambassador Kim 30 years ago. Before they accepted humanity into the council, the younger Ji-hoon Kim appeared on screen, sitting across from a panel of alien evaluators. One of them asked the final question. Ambassador, your species has a violent history. How can we trust you won't bring that violence to the council? 1. Kim's answer was simple and direct. Because we choose not to. Every day, every human makes the choice to be peaceful. We know what we're capable of. That's exactly why we work so hard to be better. The strongest warrior is the one who never needs to fight. We're trying to be that warrior. The recording ended. The Krithaks don't understand what they've challenged, Velena said quietly. They think humans are weak because they act peaceful. They don't realize that humanity's peace is a choice, not a limitation. Can we stop this? Tresh asked desperately. The challenge has been accepted, Mornith said. It's legally binding. The only way out is for one side to withdraw, and neither will. Then what do we do? Velena stood, her insectoid body rigid with resolve. We watch. We document everything. And we prepare for the galaxy to learn what humanity really is. Because after this battle, there won't be any more secrets. The Krithaks won't survive this, Kresh said. They'll survive, Mornith replied. The humans won't kill them. That's not how humanity fights anymore. They'll do something worse. What's worse than death? Tresh asked. Velena answered, her voice cold. They'll prove their point, take their victory, and then offer mercy. They'll show the Krythax exactly how outmatched they were, and then help them back to their feet. That's the most terrifying thing about humanity. They've learned to weaponize mercy. The meeting adjourned in silence. Each member left carrying the weight of knowledge they couldn't share. Somewhere in human space, ships were being prepared. Warriors were being assembled. And the galaxy was about to learn a lesson 3 billion years in the making. Humanity had earned their peace through blood and fire. Now, they would defend everyone else's peace the same way. Earth's military command center sat deep beneath the surface of Geneva. The massive facility had been built during the Unification Wars and converted to peaceful purposes when humanity joined the Galactic Council. Or at least, that's what the official records stated. The truth was more complex. Admiral Sarah Chen walked through corridors lined with tactical displays. Holographic screens showed ship positions, resource allocations, and training schedules. Personnel moved with quiet efficiency. For the first time in 30 years, Earth's military was fully activated. Status report, Sarah said, as she entered the main operations room. Commander Yuki Tanaka looked up from his console. All reserve fleets have been contacted. Response rate is 98%. The remaining 2% are in deep space and won't receive messages for another week. Civilian ship conversions? Ahead of schedule. The merchant crews are excited. Apparently, pretending to be traders was getting boring. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. When humanity had joined the council, they'd agreed to reduce their military presence. The solution had been simple and elegant. Military personnel transferred to merchant ships. Warships had their weapons removed and cargo bays installed. But the crews remained trained. The ships remained capable. And the conversion process remained quick. How long until the merchant fleet is combat ready? She asked. 43 hours, Yuki replied. We'll beat the 48-hour standard by 5 hours. Every human ship in the galaxy had been designed with rapid militarization in mind. Cargo bays could be cleared and weapons mounted in less than 2 days. Civilian crews trained constantly on combat simulations. The entire human presence in council space was a military force in disguise. Not because humanity planned to attack anyone, but because humanity never went anywhere unprepared. Sarah moved to the central planning table. A holographic display showed the neutral zone, where the battle would take place. Intelligence reports scrolled alongside it. What do we know about the Krythax? Lieutenant Park Min-jun stepped forward. He was younger than most of the command staff. But he'd earned his position through skill and performance. The Krythax Empire controls 47 systems across 3 sectors. Their military philosophy emphasizes overwhelming force and direct confrontation. He pulled up tactical data. They fight in dense formations, maximizing their firepower concentration. Their shields are designed to absorb energy weapons. Their armor is thick, but relatively primitive. They rely on numbers and intimidation. Weaknesses? Many, Min-jun said without hesitation. Their formations are rigid. They've never fought an enemy that didn't panic when outnumbered. Their shield technology is vulnerable to kinetic weapons. And most importantly, they've never faced an opponent with better tactical coordination. Sarah studied the data. What's their typical response when outmatched? Unknown. They've never been outmatched. Every species they've conquered surrendered when the Krythax demonstrated superior numbers. So they don't know how to handle defeat. They don't even have a word for retreat in their language, Yuki added. They consider it the ultimate dishonor. Sarah nodded slowly. That's going to be a problem for them. What about casualties? Crasting. Casualties. Crasting. Min-jun pulled up another file. In their 47 conquests, average casualties are high. They don't minimize losses. They accept deaths as the cost of victory. Total Krythax deaths across all conquests, approximately 2 million soldiers. And their enemies, roughly 10 million. mostly from bombardment of population centers after military defeat. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what those numbers meant. The Krithaks didn't just win battles. They made examples of those who opposed them. They're going to expect us to surrender, Sarah said finally. When we don't, they'll try to make an example of us too. That's their mistake, Minjun replied quietly. Sarah turned to address the entire operations room. Listen carefully. Our objective is not to destroy the Krithaks. Our objective is to teach them. We need to demonstrate overwhelming superiority while minimizing casualties on both sides. Some of the civilian analysts are questioning why we're not negotiating, Yuki said carefully. They don't understand why we accepted the challenge. Because the Council needs to remember who we are, Sarah answered. For 30 years, we've been peaceful traders, good neighbors. The galaxy has forgotten that we chose to be peaceful, not that we had to be. The Krithaks have given us an opportunity to remind everyone. She pulled up a different display showing Council space. Look at this. 300 years of peace. Beautiful, right? But it's fragile. The peace exists because everyone believes everyone else is roughly equal. Nobody wants to risk a war because nobody is sure they'd win. But the Krithaks have been conquering systems for decades, someone pointed out. They've been conquering species that surrendered quickly, Sarah corrected. Species that chose peace over bloodshed, noble choices. But the Krithaks interpreted surrender as weakness. They've been getting bolder, pushing boundaries. If we don't stop them now, they'll eventually challenge someone who will respond with total war. Then the peace ends for everyone. So we're protecting the Council, Yuki said. We're protecting everyone, Sarah agreed. Including the Krithaks. We're going to hit them hard enough to prove our point, but carefully enough that they survive to learn from it. She returned to the tactical display. Task force composition. I want 12 ships. Not our newest ones. Use the third-generation vessels. The room erupted in surprise. Third-generation ships were 30 years old. They were the first designs humanity had built after unification. Newer models were twice as capable. Admiral, the Krithaks are bringing 200 ships, Minjun protested. We should match them with our best. No, Sarah said firmly. We're not trying to barely win. We're trying to prove a point. 12 older ships against 200 of theirs. When we win anyway, the message will be clear. She turned to Minjun. Colonel Park, you'll command the task force. Choose your ships and crews carefully. I want veterans. People who understand the mission. Minjun straightened. Yes, Admiral. What are my rules of engagement? Well, what are my rules of engagement? Disable, don't destroy. Target weapons and engines. If you have to board their ships, do it. Show them what human marines can do in close combat. But I want minimal Krithaks casualties. Make them surrender. Then make them understand why they lost. And if they don't surrender? Sarah's expression hardened. Then you keep demonstrating superiority until they do. But remember, we're not angry at them. We're disappointed. We're teachers dealing with a student who needs a difficult lesson. Act accordingly. The briefing continued for 3 more hours. Every aspect of the battle was planned in detail. Ship selections, formation strategies, communication protocols, and contingency plans for every possible scenario. Finally, Sarah dismissed the staff. Only Minjun remained. You seem troubled, Sarah observed. Minjun chose his words carefully. The Krithaks have killed millions. They're not good people. Why are we being so careful with them? Sarah walked to the window overlooking Earth. The planet glowed blue and white below them. Beautiful and peaceful. It was hard to imagine the wars that had scarred its surface for thousands of years. Because we were them once, she said quietly. Humanity spent 10,000 years conquering and killing each other. We thought might made right. We glorified warriors and celebrated victories. We built monuments to battles and named children after generals. She turned back to Minjun. Then we developed weapons that could end everything. And we had a choice. Keep fighting until nothing remained, or find a better way. We chose the better way. But it wasn't easy, and it wasn't quick. You think the Krithax can change? I think everyone can change when they're given a reason to, Sarah replied. We're going to give them that reason. We're going to show them that strength doesn't mean conquest. That power doesn't require cruelty. That the strongest warrior really is the one who doesn't need to fight. Minjun nodded slowly. You want them to join the council properly. As equals, not conquerors. I want them to have the chance we had, Sarah said. The chance to be better than their history. She placed a hand on his shoulder. Choose your crews well, Colonel. Choose people who can fight without hate. People who can win without celebrating. We need professionals, not warriors looking for glory. I understand, Admiral. Good. You have 48 hours before deployment. Make them count. Minjun saluted and left. Sarah remained at the window, looking down at Earth. Somewhere on that planet, billions of humans were watching the news. They knew about the challenge. They knew a battle was coming, and they weren't afraid. They were proud. Sarah understood why. For 30 years, humanity had played nice. They'd been peaceful and cooperative and friendly. But every human knew the truth. They'd chosen to be peaceful, and choice meant they could choose differently if necessary. The Krithax were about to learn what happened when humanity stopped choosing peace. Sarah opened a secure channel to Ambassador Kim. His face appeared on the screen. The fleet will be ready, she said simply. Ji-hoon nodded. The council is terrified. Some of them are trying to stop the battle. Will they succeed? No. The challenge is binding. But Sarah, they know about us. About Earth. About our history. Good, Sarah replied. Then they'll understand what's about to happen. Make sure the observation platforms have full sensor coverage. I want everyone to see this clearly. Oplying. You want witnesses. I want the galaxy to understand, Sarah corrected. Peace requires strength. We've been strong enough to choose peace for 30 years. Now, we need to be strong enough to defend it. The transmission ended. Sarah returned to the tactical displays, already planning the battle that would remind the galaxy what humanity really was. The neutral zone designated for the battle was empty space between 3 star systems. No planets, no stations, nothing but darkness and distant stars. Council observation platforms ringed the area at a safe distance, their sensors recording everything. Inside the platforms, representatives from every major council species watched and waited. The tension was unbearable. Krithax fleet, arriving, announced the sensor operator. 200 warships emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. They spread across space like a crimson tide, their hulls painted in traditional Krithax war colors. Each ship bristled with weapons. Energy cannons, missile banks, and boarding pods covered every surface. On the command platform, War Chieftain Drax Thor stood proudly before his officers. This would be a glorious victory. 200 ships against whatever pitiful force the humans could muster. He would make an example of them. Other species would remember not to disrespect the Krithax Empire. Sensors show human vessels approaching, his tactical officer reported. How many? Drax Thor asked eagerly. 12, my chieftain. The bridge fell silent. Drax Thor turned slowly. 12? Only 12? Yes, my chieftain. Confirming 12 human vessels. They appear to be older merchant-class ships, recently modified. Drax Thor felt his confidence waver. Either the humans were insane, or this was a trap. Scan for hidden ships. Check for cloaked vessels. They must have a larger force waiting. The sensors swept the area thoroughly. Nothing. Just 12 human ships against his magnificent fleet of 200. This is an insult, Draxthor growled. They mock us by sending so few. On the Council observation platform, Director Mornath watched the human ships arrive. They moved in a loose formation, almost casual. Each ship was named after a human battle. Marathon, Thermopylae, Alamo, Normandy, Stalingrad, Thermopylae, Midway, Gettysburg, Hastings, Waterloo, Verdun, Incheon. Those are all battles humanity lost or nearly lost, Velena whispered, reading the ship names. They chose ships named after their defeats. Not defeats, Kresh corrected quietly. Heroic stands. Last stands. Battles where they refused to surrender, even when victory was impossible. Those names are a message. The human flagship, Marathon, moved to the front of the formation. A transmission came through on all frequencies. Colonel Park Minjun's face appeared on every screen. War Chieftain Draxthor, Minjun said calmly. We have arrived as agreed. Before we begin, I'm required to offer you one final opportunity to withdraw your challenge. Do you wish to withdraw? Minjun. Draxthor laughed. Withdraw? You bring 12 ships against 200 and ask if I wish to withdraw? Your arrogance is astounding. Human. Very well, Minjun replied. Then I accept your terms. Winner takes all. But know this, War Chieftain. We're not here to conquer you. We're here to teach you. I hope you're a good student. The transmission ended. Draxthor turned to his weapons officer. Open fire. Destroy them all. The Krithax fleet opened fire simultaneously. 200 ships unleashed their full arsenals. Energy beams lanced across space. Missiles streaked toward the human formation. It was enough firepower to obliterate a small moon. The human ships scattered. They moved with shocking speed, breaking formation and dodging in different directions. The massive energy barrage struck empty space where they'd been moments before. How did they move so fast? Draxthor demanded. Their engines are more powerful than expected, the tactical officer reported. And their maneuvering thrusters are responding impossibly quick. The Krithax fleet adjusted targeting and fired again. The human ships dodged again. Their movements coordinated perfectly. It looked like chaos. But every ship knew exactly where every other ship would be. They're making us waste ammunition, Draxthor realized. All ships, break formation. Chase them down. Don't let them escape. The Krithax fleet broke apart, each group pursuing individual human ships. It was exactly what they'd done in 47 previous conquests. Overwhelming numbers, aggressive pursuit, inevitable victory. Except this time was different. The human ships led their pursuers in different directions, spreading the Krithax fleet across thousands of kilometers. Then, suddenly, all 12 human ships reversed course simultaneously. They weren't running anymore. All ships, regroup, Draxthor ordered desperately. But his fleet was scattered. The humans had tricked them into abandoning their formation advantage. The human ships opened fire. Solid projectiles, not energy beams. Gauss cannons firing metal slugs at a fraction of light speed. The rounds punched through Krithax shields, like they weren't even there. Shields designed to absorb energy were useless against physical projectiles. Krithax ships started losing weapons, engines, and sensors. The humans targeted with surgical precision. Not killing blows. Disabling shots. Ships went dark and began drifting. Alive, but helpless. How are they doing this? Draxthor roared. Return fire. But the Krithax ships couldn't coordinate. They were scattered, disorganized, and their weapons couldn't hit targets moving so quickly. The humans danced through space, picking off ships one by one. A human voice came over the communications channel. Krithax vessels, this is your final warning. Surrender now, and this ends peacefully. Continue fighting, and we'll disable your entire fleet. Never. Drax Thor screamed. All ships, fight to the death. Die with honor rather than surrender. The battle continued. The humans were relentless but controlled. Every shot precisely aimed. Every movement calculated. They fought like machines. Except machines couldn't adapt this quickly. One Krithax ship got close enough to attempt boarding. Their warriors launched in assault pods, expecting to board a human vessel and fight hand to hand. They crashed into the hull of the Thermopylae and cut their way inside. 3 minutes later, they were all back in their pods, retreating in panic. The human marines who repelled them hadn't used guns. They'd fought hand to hand, and won. Easily. They're stronger than us, a Krithax warrior reported, his voice shaking. In their gravity, with their muscles. We couldn't match them. They moved too fast. Hit too hard. Drax Thor stared at his tactical display in disbelief. 60 of his ships were disabled. 80 more were damaged. The humans had lost nothing. Not one ship. Not one casualty. This isn't possible, he whispered. We outnumber them 16-1. Numbers don't matter when you can't hit the enemy. His tactical officer said quietly. And their weapons bypass our defenses completely. Another wave of human fire swept through the Krithax fleet. More ships went dark. The humans moved in patterns that seemed random but were perfectly coordinated. Every ship knew where every other ship would be. They fought like a single organism with 12 bodies. We're losing, Drax Thor realized. The thought was alien to him. The Krithax never lost. But here, in this empty space, his proud fleet was being systematically dismantled by 12 ships. Surrender, war chieftain, his tactical officer pleaded. We can't win this. We can't surrender, Drax Thor shouted. It's dishonorable. Dying pointlessly is more dishonorable, the officer replied. 100 Krithax ships were disabled now. The humans hadn't destroyed a single one. They'd carefully disabled each vessel, leaving the crew alive but unable to fight. It was methodical, professional, and terrifying. Drax Thor watched another squadron of his ships go dark. The humans were toying with them now, demonstrating their superiority, proving their point with every precisely aimed shot. How many casualties do we have? Drax Thor asked quietly. Approximately 40,000 wounded, 3,000 dead. The humans are targeting empty sections of our ships when possible. They're minimizing our losses. That was somehow worse than total destruction. The humans could kill them all. But they were choosing not to. They were being merciful, while destroying everything Drax Thor believed about Krithax superiority. The human flagship, Marathon, approached Drax Thor's command ship. Colonel Park's voice came through again. War Chieftain Drax Thor. You have 140 disabled ships, 50 damaged ships, 10 ships still combat capable. You cannot win this battle. I'm offering surrender terms one final time. Accept now, and this ends. Refuse, and I'll disable your remaining ships. Drax Thor looked at his tactical display. Everything Park said was true. The battle was over. It had been over from the moment the humans stopped running and started fighting back. What are your terms? Drax Thor asked, the words tasting like ash in his mouth. Unconditional surrender. You'll return all ships to Krithax space under Council escort. You'll release all conquered systems within 1 standard year. You'll join the Galactic Council as members, not conquerors, and you'll never issue a challenge to another species again. And if I refuse, then I'll disable the rest of your fleet, and the terms will be the same, but you'll look even more foolish. Your choice, War Chieftain. End this with dignity, or end this with complete humiliation. On the Council observation platform, every representative watched in stunned silence. The humans had done exactly what they'd promised. They demonstrated overwhelming superiority while minimizing casualties. They'd won a battle that should have been impossible. They're giving the Krithax a choice, Velena whispered. They're letting them surrender with some honor intact. That's more mercy than the Krithax showed their own enemies, Tornath added. Draxthor sat in his command chair, facing the worst moment of his life. His entire worldview had shattered. The Krythax Empire, undefeated for 300 years, had been broken by 12 human ships in less than 2 hours. "I surrender," he said finally. The Krythax Empire yields to humanity. Colonel Park's expression didn't change. "Correction, War Chieftain. You don't surrender to humanity. You surrender to the Galactic Council. We're just enforcing Council law. Your challenge violated the peace we all share. You needed to be reminded of that." The transmission ended. Human ships began moving among the disabled Krythax vessels, providing repair instructions and medical assistance. They'd won the battle, but they weren't celebrating. They were helping the enemy they'd just defeated. Draxthor watched it all numbly. The humans had taught him a lesson. The most powerful warrior wasn't the one who won battles. It was the one who knew when battles weren't necessary, and when they were necessary, who could win without cruelty. He had challenged humanity to teach them their place. Instead, humanity had taught him something far more important. In the vast galaxy, true strength wasn't about conquest. It was about choosing not to conquer, even when you could. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so crowded. Every representative was present, along with military observers, diplomatic staff, and security personnel. They'd all watched the battle through live sensor feeds. Now they needed to decide what it meant. War Chieftain Draxthor stood in the center of the chamber, alone. His scales had dulled with shame. His proud warrior bearing was gone, replaced by something closer to confusion. Behind him, Council security officers waited, though they weren't needed. The Krythax had surrendered completely. Director Mornith called the session to order. "War Chieftain Draxthor, you issued a challenge to humanity under ancient treaty law. That challenge has been resolved. Humanity has claimed victory. Do you dispute this outcome?" "No," Draxthor said quietly. "The humans defeated us completely. We surrendered unconditionally. Woe the fenced visitor, unmean to fermentig, 117 use 9. Woe, unmean to fermentig." A murmur ran through the chamber. Unconditional surrender. The Krythax, who had conquered 47 systems, had surrendered without conditions to a species they'd viewed as weak. "Ambassador Kim," Mornith continued, "as the victor, humanity has rights under treaty law. What are your demands?" Mornith. Ji-hoon Kim stood, his expression calm as always. "We demand nothing for ourselves, but we ask the Council to enforce the following terms on the Krythax Empire. First, all conquered systems must be granted independence within 1 standard year. Second, the Krythax must join the Galactic Council as full members, subject to all laws and treaties. Third, the Krythax military must be reduced to defensive forces only, with Council oversight for 5 years. Finally, War Chieftain Draxthor must appear before this Council and explain why he issued his challenge. The chamber erupted in surprise. Representatives shouted questions. The humans had won decisively, but they were asking for almost nothing for themselves. Instead, they wanted justice for the Krythax's previous victims. "Order," Mornith called. The chamber slowly quieted. "War Chieftain Draxthor, Ambassador Kim has requested you explain your reasoning. You're not required to answer, as you've already surrendered. But will you explain?" Draxthor looked at the human ambassador. The small, calm alien who had accepted his challenge without fear. The representative of a species that had destroyed his fleet with 12 ships. "I challenged humanity because I thought they were weak," Draxthor said slowly. "They acted peaceful. They traded quietly. They caused no problems. I thought this meant they couldn't fight. I thought I would teach them to respect the Krythax Empire." He paused, struggling with the words. "I was wrong. Completely wrong. The humans weren't peaceful because they were weak. They were peaceful because they chose to be." I didn't understand the difference. And you understand now? Ji-hoon asked gently. Yes, Draxthor replied. The humans disabled 140 of my ships in 2 hours. They didn't destroy them. They carefully aimed every shot to disable, without killing. They could have slaughtered my entire fleet in the first 10 minutes. He turned to face the full council. The humans have something we Krythax don't have. Control. They have weapons that could destroy planets. Ships that could crush any fleet in council space. But they use that power carefully. They fight without hate, win without cruelty. That's real strength. Ambassador Velena clicked forward on her insectoid legs. War Chieftain, the Krythax Empire has conquered 47 systems. Millions have died in your campaigns. Why should we believe you've truly learned anything? Draxthor's scales flushed darker with shame. Because I saw what I could have been. The humans showed me mercy I didn't deserve. They helped repair our ships after defeating us. They treated our wounded. They could have humiliated us completely. But instead, they offered us dignity. He looked directly at Velena. My people conquered because we thought strength meant domination. The humans proved that strength means restraint. If they can choose peace after being so powerful, maybe we can too. Another council member, High Speaker Tornath, spoke up. The Krythax Empire has caused immense suffering. Words of regret aren't enough. You're right, Ji-hoon agreed. Words aren't enough. That's why we're asking for action. Release the conquered systems. Join the council properly. Let your people learn a different way. And if the Krythax refuse? Tornath asked. If they view this as weakness and return to conquest? Colonel Park Min-jun entered the chamber. He'd come directly from his flagship, still wearing his combat uniform. He walked to stand beside Ambassador Kim. Then we'll stop them again, Min-jun said simply. But this time, everyone will know what humanity is capable of. The Krythax won't be able to surprise anyone anymore. Neither will we. He pulled up a holographic display showing the battle statistics. The Krythax suffered 40,000 wounded and 3,000 dead. Humanity suffered 47 minor injuries and 0 deaths. We used 12 ships against 200. We could have sent more. We could have used newer ships. We could have destroyed instead of disabled. The numbers hung in the air. Undeniable. The victory had been so complete, it seemed impossible. We're not showing these numbers to brag, Min-jun continued. We're showing them so everyone understands. Humanity has been peaceful for 30 years because we chose it, not because we had to. The galaxy has been safe because we decided to keep it safe. That hasn't changed. Director Morneth leaned forward. Colonel Park, many council members have questions about human military capability. Your ships moved faster than our sensors predicted. Your weapons bypassed Krythax shields completely. Your tactics were flawless. How long have you been preparing for this battle? 30 years, Min-jun replied honestly. Since the day we joined the council, we studied every species, analyzed every military in council space, developed strategies and counter-strategies. Not because we planned to attack anyone, because we never wanted to be unprepared if someone attacked us. You've been preparing for war this entire time? Tornath asked in horror. We've been ensuring peace this entire time, Ji-hoon corrected. Peace requires strength. If we'd been weak, someone would have attacked us eventually. Because we're strong, everyone chose peace instead. That's how peace works in the real world. Weak 2-3, Velena spoke again, her voice thoughtful. The Council has been protecting humanity, keeping your true nature classified. But after this battle, we can't hide it anymore. Every species in the galaxy will know what you are. Good, Ji-hoon said. We're tired of pretending. We're tired of being underestimated. The galaxy should know that humanity earned our peace through 10,000 years of war. We know what violence costs. That's exactly why we work so hard to avoid it. A younger representative named Tresh raised a tentacle nervously. Ambassador Kim, what if other species fear humanity now? What if they view you as a threat? What if they view you as a threat? Ji-hoon smiled sadly. They should fear what we could be, but they should respect what we choose to be. We could have conquered Council space years ago if we wanted. We didn't. We joined as equals and have been good neighbors for 30 years. One battle doesn't change our character, but it changes how others see you. Tresh persisted. Then they'll see us clearly for the first time, Min-jun said. We're not monsters. We're not conquerors. But we're not helpless either. We're exactly what we've always said we are. A species that wants peace, but knows how to fight when necessary. Draxthor spoke again, his voice stronger. The humans speak truth. They didn't kill my warriors when they could have. They didn't conquer my empire when they won the right to. They're asking me to free the systems I conquered, not to conquer those systems themselves. That's not the behavior of a threat. Mornith looked between the Krithax war chieftain and the human delegation. This council must vote on humanity's demands regarding the Krithax Empire. All in favor of requiring the Krithax to release conquered systems, join the council properly, and submit to 5 years of military oversight. The vote was unanimous. And now, Mornith continued, we must address humanity's role going forward. The council requires a security force. We've relied on diplomatic pressure and economic sanctions to maintain peace. But the Krithax crisis has shown that sometimes peaceful pressure isn't enough. Valena stood. I propose that humanity becomes the Council security force. With strict conditions. They may only act defensively or to protect other Council members. They may never initiate conquest, and their actions must be reviewed by this Council. The chamber exploded in debate. Half the representatives supported the idea. The other half feared giving humanity official military authority. Ji-hoon raised his hand for silence. We accept, but with our own conditions. We won't be anyone's attack dogs. We won't fight wars for political gain. We'll only act when there's genuine threat to council members or council peace. And we want council oversight on our actions. We don't trust ourselves with unlimited authority, so you shouldn't either. That statement surprised everyone. The humans wanted oversight on their own power. You don't trust yourself? Tornath asked, confused. We know our history, Ji-hoon replied. We know what happens when powerful groups have no accountability. We've seen it on Earth too many times. We want the Council to keep us honest. We want you to question our decisions. That's how this works properly. The vote took 3 hours of debate. Finally, the Council agreed. Humanity would become the official security force, with strict limitations and oversight requirements. As the session ended, Draxthor approached the human delegation. Go ahead, Ji-hoon replied. Why did you spare us? My empire has killed millions. We deserved destruction. Instead, you offer us mercy and a chance to change. Why? Min-jun answered. Because we were you once. Humanity spent thousands of years conquering and killing each other. We thought might made right. Then we developed weapons that could end our entire species. We had a choice. Keep fighting until nothing remained, or find a better way. And you chose the better way, Draxthor said. After a lot of suffering, Ji-hoon added. We're not offering you mercy, because you deserve it. We're offering it because everyone deserves a chance to be better than their past. We got that chance. You should too. Draxthor bowed his head, a gesture of deep respect in Krithax culture. My people will remember this. We won't waste this chance. Later, in his private quarters, Ji-hoon sat at his desk. He pulled up the classified files that Valena had shown the senior council members. His own species' violent history stared back at him. Earth's wars, humanity's weapons. 10,000 years of violence, leading to 30 years of peace. A message appeared on his screen. From Admiral Sarah Chen on Earth. You did well, Ambassador. The galaxy knows what we are now. Let's prove to them what we can be. Ji-hoon smiled and looked out at the stars. Somewhere among those lights, 47 systems were about to gain their freedom. The Krythax were about to learn a new way. And humanity had taken its place not as conquerors, but as protectors. They'd spent 30 years being underestimated. Now, the galaxy knew the truth. Humanity was powerful enough to destroy, strong enough to conquer, capable enough to dominate, but wise enough to choose none of those things. The strongest warrior really was the one who didn't need to fight. Humanity had finally proved it to everyone, including themselves. Peace wasn't weakness. It was strength under perfect control. And now, humanity would help the galaxy learn the same lesson they'd learned through blood and tears and 10,000 years of hard mistakes. Not through conquest, not through force, through example, through mercy, through giving others the chance to be better than their worst moments. That was humanity's real power. Not their weapons or their ships or their tactics, their ability to remember what violence cost, and their determination to spare others from learning that lesson the hard way. The galaxy would be safer because humanity chose to make it so. Not through fear. Through hope. And that made all the difference.